Just harking back to, well, the events of yesterday, there were so many people wanting to comment on the patrol boat contract debacle. It's a little article from Peter Michael that attracted my attention this morning in the Courier Mail. Cairns hopes to salvage the lost $500 million Pacific patrol boat bid with a push to dredge Trinity Inlet and prevent the city's industrial port becoming a backwater. Now, it goes on to say that city leaders and lobby groups said tripling the size of the HMAS Cairns base could lure naval fleets, super yachts and cruise liners to replace the $2,000 million flow-on benefits of the lost contract. Now, they don't mention any names there. There was, well, a discussion on this program yesterday about the prospects of, as Ian MacDonald put it, making it pay. But there are no names mentioned here. There's no quotes attributed to, community leaders specifically. So Peter Campion's on the line. Peter's very much an advocate for getting this project underway and is with me now. Hello, Peter.
G'day, John. Good to talk to you again.
It was an interesting little article, wasn't it? He's not specifically saying, the mayor said this or the member for Leichhardt said this or any of the local members said this. It's just seemingly picking up on the tone of the discussion yesterday on the talk show.
John, there's two interesting rumours getting around. I don't know if you deal much in rumours, but one is that the Labor Party and the Greens agreed before the election that if the Labor Party won, there'd be no major development of any sort in far north Queensland. And that sort of seems to have come true, doesn't it, Now, the other rumour is that Ports North has been tasked not so much with dredging the port, which is obviously essential, but with finding another way to get ships in with computer modelling. Now, I'm no expert on ships, John. All I know is that there's an Archimedes principle that says if you put a mass on water and it has the capacity to float, then it will displace a certain amount and it will draw a certain amount of water. And, historically, ships didn't draw much water, but over time they've grown. But what's really surprising, John? The biggest ships, those ones that you see on TV that look like an absolute block of flats going past, draw only 9.3 metres. So that's the Oasis class. 6,300 passengers, John. 2,400 crew. Only draw 9.3 metres.
But what's the point you're making?
Well, the channel is 8.3 metres. Ships need an under-keel clearance, usually about 1.5 metres, sometimes a bit more or less. So your typical freight vessel these days, Panamax class, 12 metres, that's what it needs. A major naval asset like a Nimitz class US supercarrier draws 12.5 metres. Our channel needs to be not 8.3 metres as it is now, it needs to be 13 or 14 metres deep. And instead of 90 metres wide, it needs to be 120 metres wide. We're a port city. It's not a river estuary, it's an ex-river estuary. It has no major currents. That's what makes it great as a port, But it doesn't flush ever. It silts up. Even the pressure of the buildings that you guys are sitting in down there at the moment is squeezing mud back into the channel very, very gradually, but that's what happens. And, it washes down from up here on the tablelands and, it fills up from the various natural sources. And if we don't dredge it, we're doomed to choke our port off. It's a massive piece of infrastructure. But it's an invisible piece of infrastructure, John. There's nowhere to nail a plaque to it. So we haven't got any political will to get the job done. Our old city leaders, look back through the history books, our old city leaders had a lot of fights about it, but they knew what had to be done, and they got on and did it. And if you have a significant improvement to the port, which science has proven that won't damage the reef no matter how much our green alarmists come up with their various tall stories that it would. That history proves that we don't damage the reef with dredging. We used to have our own dredge. I was a kid, used to sit there watching the dredge. Used to chase it in my kayak. It's a no-brainer, and the fact that it's not being done points very clearly to this embargo on development in the north, And
these figures of yours, though, Peter, represented yet another hurdle. I haven't heard anybody suggest we could dredge to a depth of 13 metres. I don't know about the 120 metres wide, but I haven't heard anybody talk about a 13-metre depth.
That's fairly normal for shipping channels. That's not at all uncommon.
But they're not talking about it with this project, are they? They're talking about an extra 1.1 metres, I think.
They should be talking about it, John. Why talk about a half measure? Why talk about a Band-Aid fix?
Yeah.
Well, where's our vision? How come we don't have anyone in our leadership anymore who is prepared to say, hey, let's do the job and let's do it properly.
Yeah.
This whole job, dredging the port to a proper depth to get the mega cruise ships in, have a mega cruise ship home ported here, or two. You know, we need a bit of vision. You know, we don't need highly paid bureaucrats telling us it can't be done, or they've computer modelled it that if the ship comes in on the dark of the moon, then it'll get through with only taking 2 layers of paint off and nonsense like that. We need it dredged and dredged properly. Now, 120 metres is to allow for the ship to have to more or less come in at an angle, okay, because of wind. So some people will say, use the bow thrusters, straighten around like that. Hydrodynamics don't work like that, John. The bow thrusters are very much only for parking the ship, not for sailing the ship through a narrower channel.
Sure.
Now, look, when I say 13 metres, that's not much. A Suez-class vessel is 20 metres of draft, you know. There's plenty of vessels or major freight carriers and super bulk tankers and stuff that draw a hell of a lot more than that. But obviously there's only very few ports they can go to. We're trying to attract, we'd like to be able to get sugar ships out full, fuel ships in full, and cruise ships, naval visits. Can you imagine? A Nimitz-class supercarrier has 5,000 cashed up sailors on board. What an injection. I mean, let's not think of it entirely as money. Let's all think of it as jobs and progress and playing a part in it. Now, China is building 5 forts in the South China Sea. That's regional instability coming up there on a grand scale.
Sure.
Wouldn't it be better if we already had the mechanism in play, the policy and the processes in play to get this job done and just do it efficiently? And if we take all the silt, the sand, I mean, it's not full of heavy metals. We've never had that type of industry in Cairns. That's nonsense attached to other ports elsewhere in the world. Yeah. We have perfectly clean sand and fine silt there that we can take and we can put at East Trinity in an old degraded salt marsh area, and it was never mangroves. Let's read the history books and let's have a damn look at the historical photos, and we will see it was never all mangroves in there. We can protect the mangroves around the edge. We know how important the mangroves are, okay, but we can also put in a satellite city over there, build that up, sell that land, and pay for the whole thing, and it's not costing anybody anything. Yeah. And all we need is someone with the vision to get elected and do this thing. You know,
now, Peter, the fact of the matter is it is still very prominent in the ongoing debate. And, of course, it came to the surface again yesterday with the disappointment over this patrol boat contract. But did we edge a tiny bit closer to getting this project underway yesterday or not?
Not in my opinion, John, but then I'm a bit of a cynic, you know. I guess following politics in this part of the world since I was a kid, I've sort of just been disappointed too many times. You know, that they bandy figures around. Like I think the Ports Association is asking for 100 million. That's not enough. We need 250. We should be asking for 350 million and being prepared to negotiate down to, say, a more realistic 220 million. Yeah. But that's not a lot for a piece of infrastructure like that has so much potential to do so much good. Yes. But for the 80% that isn't tourism, as well as the 20% of our jobs base that is tourism. Yeah. You know, it's got the only shortcomings with the whole project are the hysterical greens and the fact that no one can put a plaque on a shipping channel. It's invisible. If you build an overpass in Brisbane, you're going to get people from 17 or 23 different electorates seeing that every day and thinking, oh, how wonderful this government is. They've built that overpass. You dredge the bottom of the channel in Cairns. There's 3 local electorates, 3 state electorates, and 2 federal ones, and no one can see what you've done.
Yes, no plaque.
No plaque. There's no ribbon to cut. Well, I suppose you could put a ribbon there, but it's still going to be a soggy ceremony, isn't it? You know, and this is what it comes down to. Unless there's a plaque, unless there's a curtain that can be whipped aside and the media pack standing there to catch these smiling pollies doing this marvellous thing for the community, then it's just not going to happen. Am I sounding cynical? Gosh, you've pushed me.
Oh, you're sounding very entertaining. You're sounding very entertaining. This is very amusing, actually.
I've gone on a rant now. You started me.
I'm glad you did. Peter, this has been not only informative, but very amusing, and thank you. Peter Campion on the line up at Tolga. And the time's on 11 to 11.
Did you know that Mariba enjoys